What's up, Ramblers? Your favorite CEO is back. And before we begin today's podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode. And follow Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms to stay up to date on the latest content, updates, and more. And remember, if you need a virtual assistant, visit us at offsource.tech. Now, before we begin, a word from our sponsor. Hey guys, welcome back to another wonderful episode of The Ramblings. I'm your host, Angelo Roberts, and I have today with us Febriana Farley. I hope I pronounced that right.
Febriana Farley, yeah.
Febriana Farley.
Yeah.
And she is an entrepreneur. She's a website builder. She focuses on the flow of websites. Introduce yourself today, Febriana. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Angela, for the invitation. So my name is Febriana Farley, and my business is Website It Up. So what we do is we build websites for small and take care of websites for small businesses. But what our focus is a little different. We focus on how do you actually make the website work and actually make you money on it. When people land on the website, it's more about the conversions, right? Whatever you're trying to achieve through your website, instead of just making it look pretty and nice, we want it to be functional. We want it to be working in your terms, in the best interest of your business, because it's an investment. Everyone knows that. So that's our focus, basically. And that's my belief, in my own field, is to make website work.
Right. Okay. That's absolutely wonderful. Then everyone needs, because what people fail to realize is websites are more than just a website for your business. It's not just information about your business. The goal, there's a purpose for it. There's a reason that it's there. It's to give more than just information. It's for people to take some action based on that information, which is what you help people out with. I think it's amazing. Now, what people don't know is that we were having a conversation before we officially started this podcast. We were talking about dropping out, all this kind of stuff. And so I would like to ask you, with, in relation to what we kind of left off on, what do you think is one of the most important classes or things that you can learn from school for being a business owner? You said that everything wasn't 100% useless. What is the non-useless parts of school to you?
The non-useless part. I like how you phrase it. That's an interesting one. I think a lot of basic stuff is good. Let's say computer. I can't remember what that class called. An Excel spreadsheet. It helps me a lot. I run a lot of my stuff on Excel spreadsheet, and it really, instead of doing calculator, oh my gosh, it saves a lot of time. So those are the technical skills, skill set that I learned from school. It's really have benefited me today, and also concepts wise. But I think even in those classes, you learn a lot of things when am I going to use it, but one of the classes that I really like is personal finance. That one, yeah, it really opens up, especially I didn't grow up here, I was born and raised in Hong Kong, so a lot of things are different here. The system's different, financial system is different, and also a lot of things are different. It's a whole new world for me. Even phone system is different. That's a story I can share later. I had the hardest time to contact my family since the moment that I landed here. So there are a few days after I landed in the US, on this US soil, that I wasn't able to connect with my family, and they were freaking out because daughter just stepped on a plane and she disappeared, But anyway, so with the personal finance class, it really helps me to understand how do you guys do retirement? What does it mean? What does insurance mean? And there's different kind of insurance. Not that they would take you for a lot into, the details and nitty gritty details, but then at the same time, it just, it really helps me at least have very general ideas of how things work over this way of the globe, if that makes sense.
It definitely does. And I definitely think that that's pretty important, because I also agree with that. I was actually talking with my mom earlier today. We talk all the time. And I was telling her, as a kid, all of the dumb little things and rules and stuff that you put in place. So caveat, I was homeschooled up till 5th grade. My mom homeschooled.
Oh, wow. Yes. Impressive.
So different kind of learning for like the very first, part of my life and everything. And so one of the things was we actually had, we come from a decent kind of well-off family, and we each had our own computer. We actually had a room dedicated for just the computers. Like it was like,
Wow.
it eventually became my bedroom because was able to keep a computer in my bedroom. But what happened was my mom set a desk on the back wall and then like a thing, and it was facing like the computer would face the doorway so that if she would walk by, she could see what we were on and everything. But before we could actually play any games on that computer, we had to do work for at least an hour.
That's
And then
impressive.
each hour of work,
it's always impressive. Yeah.
To an hour of playtime. That's kind of how it went. So like if you do an hour of work, you get an hour of playtime. And so I eventually kind of everything started with like basic websites and stuff, but then I started doing things like learning how to use GarageBand, learning how to do spreadsheets, how to do PowerPoints, how to break down a video. I built my very first website using using webs.com. That's not even really popular anymore. It's like, and I've looked at how their system is. It's super complicated and like a super complicated drag and drop now. But back then I built a website. It was called nickthecreator.webs.com. People don't know.
Is it still up?
I actually, now that I say that, I can actually do a quick hot check. nickthecreator.webs.com.
That is funny. That's awesome.
No, it's not. It says it's frozen because it's been years. I made it like probably almost 10 years ago, and I just haven't done anything since. But I made a couple of websites just for fun because it was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. And it like having the working knowledge of a lot of things that I do today are the reason that I'm able to pick up things fast. So like building a website, going from, hey, I made websites as a kid to, oh, I'm going to start a business and I need a website for it. In college, one of my businesses I had started was sneaker cleaning and customizations. So I was doing because I don't know if you know, within the Black community, sneakers are a very sought after item. People love Jordans and sneakers and everything. So I was like, oh, my brother actually started. So he was like doing he was like customizing sneakers. It's a whole little community and everything.
Yeah.
Like, he was looking at videos, like you can go on YouTube, like to learn how to clean your sneakers, how to do things better. And so like, I was like, that's genius. I'm going to be like the Foot Locker of custom sneakers. People are gonna come to the store. I was like thinking of prices. I had this entire thing going, and then my brother was like, "I'm done. I'm not doing that no more." And I was like,
"Did you pick it up from there?"
Yeah. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't customize sneakers. I know business. I don't know how to clean or paint a sneaker. So the next day, I went on YouTube and I learned how to clean and paint sneakers. And I did not do a bad job. I was actually pretty good. I was not as good as my brother. I'll say that. If you listen to it, I was not as good as you, bro. But I did good enough to please customers and everything and still kind of keep it going. I realized that's too much feedback for me. Like, it's art, right? When you're doing custom, like things like that, like as a service kind of thing, it's a little bit different. There's no right or wrong. And that was where I didn't like that. I didn't really like that part because it was, people were like, oh, can you kind of make it like this, kind of like that? And I was I can't do that, man. Like, I'm just kind of getting started. I couldn't draw. So that was my thing. I don't do any like drawings. Like, I met another girl who could draw and she would customize sneakers and she would draw like full on Lion King graphics and stuff like that. Like, she could put Pinocchio and stuff. Listen, bro, you're going to get just colors. I can't draw. Like, you'd be tight, you know? And so that's like one of the things I did, but building that website for it, you know, thinking about putting my making an Instagram page, you know, putting my happy customers on Instagram, putting up before and after photos, all of that. And one of the things that my dad said was like, I don't know how my dad was thinking of it, but he was looking at, like, I could feel that he wasn't taking me seriously. I was taking me seriously. But you know, when your parents don't take you serious when you start.
Yeah, because you were a kid, right? Like, you're still a kid. What do you know? You know?
Right. And it's hard to get them. Like, I'm 19. I was like 18, 19 or something. And so like, I'm like trying to do this. And it takes a certain amount of, at least for parents of, you know, within Black and brown communities, and I don't know if it's the same necessarily in Asian and minority communities and like that, but you have to hit a certain amount of kind of success money-wise before your
Yeah.
parents start taking you serious. Like if you're not bringing in money, your parents think it's a hobby still. I guess it's a hobby. So my dad was like, okay. But his thing that he said was, even if I'm not like, even if I don't take you serious, this process will never leave you. Like it's like riding a, like starting that and doing it, it was like riding a bike. You don't forget it, right? You don't forget the process. You don't forget the lessons you learned. And so all of the other small businesses that I kind of like played and toyed around with and everything really helped, because that was my hobby. I knew I wanted to do business. So I started businesses. You know, when kids are playing basketball, they go to the gym, right? So as someone who wanted to start business, I was starting businesses. And then when I really got into this, it was like, I now am taking everything I've learned, and not even in school, all the things that I learned outside of school, and some of the useful things that I learned in school that we were talking about, like the Excel, building a website, how to just navigate a computer. Because that it's by itself can just make money. Like my dad called me one day to set up, because he had always used a PC and he had got a MacBook, and he asked me to come set it up for him. So he was like, oh, I need you to come set up. I'm like, what do you mean come set up your computer? He's like, Best Buy has Geek Squad and they're gonna charge me $200 to set up my computer. I'll pay you $100 if you can set it up. Thank you for using slave labor, sir, and trying to treat me like I'm a piece of dirt. But I mean, I want the $100, so I'll do it. Like setting up a computer is like a 15-minute job, bro. Like, why are they charging you so much? But absolutely, the most important thing was these lessons will never leave. That's what happened.
I love that. Like, you know, a lot of people, their journey doesn't start like it's really actually it's such a blessing to that you can, you know, start at this early age, you know. A lot of these lessons don't start for a lot of other people that are like until they're in an older age, if that makes sense. And it becomes really difficult, but then because by then you have burdens, you have like financial burden, you might have a family, you might have all these things, and then like these lessons can get tough, like especially when you're a teenager. I wish I could have started earlier as well. Like as a teenager, you're ignorant and you are arrogant, and that's a blessing. You just like feel like, I still remember in my 20s, early 20s, and I feel like, oh my gosh, I can conquer the world, right? And guess what, those are the best time to, you know, experience failures and really learn those lessons. Those are really the best time. Like first of all, you know, after that, you know, you are not like you can be capable, you can be unstoppable, but then like not now, you know what I mean? Like you can build up to it, and it kind of helps you to be a little more friendly, a little more realistic, if you would, like as a teenager. But then at the same time, like I feel like that helps you to grow, like I said, like before you started recording. I love that, you know. I know, like I met you when you were just a few months into your business, and then but then like you know, within 2 years now, maybe 1 year, 2 years, I can't remember, but then like I've seen you in multiple like forums or like webinars and stuff like that, and that's impressive. I know a lot of people like have stopped right there, even they have the opportunity, they're too like scared to go forward, and that includes me as well, you know. Like it includes me being like afraid of like, oh, how other people judge me, or like do they, like you said, like do they really is what I'm going to say add values to them, you know what I mean? So yeah, like I think in that part it's really inspiring. So I want to like, you know, applaud you for that, you know, for being like so bold and like keep going ahead, and then that's really cool.
I only thing I always say is just I try. Like I think that is the very most, like that's probably my catchphrase. I'm gonna put it on a t-shirt at some point. I try. Or like it'll be like I try. Like that's literally it. You can't get anywhere unless you don't try. And my thing was this, right? Like, and I don't know if I copied it from somebody. So if someone hears this podcast and they're like, oh, you took that from me, like, here's your credit for it. But one of the things was, if I don't care how stupid I look, how much people make fun of me, if I have a goal, right? And I let you saying I look funny, or you saying, you know, oh, your head's too big, or you talk weird, or you look weird on camera, or you don't seem comfortable, that's fine. Like, it's not fine, but like, and it can affect me, but I don't want it to affect me to the point where I no longer pursue my goal. Like
Exactly.
I am going to basically let someone by saying my voice is funny stop me from making a podcast in which that podcast means someone might have heard my voice was funny, made a meme based on it. Now people come to listen to the podcast because they thought this man's voice sounds funny. And someone listens to it, a couple of people are like, his voice sounds a little bit funny, but it's bearable or whatever. And I found value in it. But now I'm viral. And you like, it's like you don't know what could happen, like virality
Exactly.
based on, you know, someone trying to make a meme out of me or something like that. That's what the day and age that we're in, you know?
Yeah.
And so with anything being able to happen, I am essentially letting people scare me out of my living my best life and best future self. And I was like, I've really sat down and said, like, because it's much harder said. It's much easier said than done, right? It's much harder to actually do and not care.
Yeah.
So when I was going about it, I was just like, I really had to sit and think, what do I want, right? I can't be faking what I want, because if I'm faking what I want, then it's gonna, like, I don't really want it, and I can stop at any point based on how much pushback that I get. And so I just kind of said, listen, I just sat myself down and said, if I'm going to do this and someone's going to like, people are going to make fun of me, people are going to laugh at me. Like, for example, my very, 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 very first set of going live and doing like public things, like on front of video, was in 2020. I started a live Facebook segment, which I streamed on like Instagram and Twitch sometimes.
Wow.
Was called Stretch Your Mind. It was in 2020. It was like January 2020, right? I have a live called Stretch Your Mind. My hair looks a mess. I listened to a bunch of Gary Vee to prep myself. So if you have to do that, I recommend it, right? Listen to a lot of Gary Vee to give yourself that motivational boost, or any motivational speaker that you like.
Right.
Give yourself that motivational boost and then go do it. And then just say, because my entire first basis thing was just about consistency. I don't care that I'm nobody, like chances are nobody will watch your very first video.
Yeah.
Period. Like no, like just like
nobody will know.
Nobody's going to even know. Now people will know, and that's what people get scared of. But people are also scared of, oh, nobody joined. Well, that's the great part. Get consistent with it, right? Do a one video a day for 10 days because nobody's watching. And that's the best time. And so now you're comfortable because nobody's watching. And so you start getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. Now you're starting to get comfortable. And then what happened was just like everything was about being consistent. And then I just said, you know what? Consistency is the name of the game. I just have to do one thing every day until it blows up. And if it never blows up, I'm fine with it. Like you have to be fine with saying, if it never blows up, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's I agree. Like what are you still going to do even though it fails, right? Like what would you enjoy doing at the end of the day?
Yeah. And I was like, even if I failed, and I had said this last week, like when we were talking and everything, if everything went to crap, if everything hit the fan, I don't have to get another job. I have the means and the skills to freelance through life. Like I don't need an actual boss. Like I have a podcast. I have another business actually, which is a media company that I started with a friend of mine.
Oh, and cool.
Yeah, I do podcasting. I do a little bit of music. I think that's every single Black person. I think every single Black person at some point has been like,
you guys are creative. I have to say, like, definitely not us. We're forced to learn the pianos. We're those ones. Wait, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it's very true. I was like, you know what? And so I was like, let me take what I know about business and just apply it to like music and media and stuff. Consistently post content, consistently get work done, be consistent, and just understand business, right? People understand music, or people understand what they're good at. They don't understand business. And that was really where I started, as you had probably asked about earlier, where I started getting kind of confident. When I realized I did a thing, weird sidebar. I used to do a test, right? I would have an answer for something, my own personal thought. I would think about something. oh, I think like X, Y, and Z. And
Mhm.
what I would do is I would ask somebody that was in said space, what do you think about this? What do you think that I should do for X,
Right.
Y, and Z? What do you think I should do? And they would say, I think you should post X this. I think you should be consistent doing this. And lo and behold, I was already like, that's already what I'm doing. I'm already doing that. So I'm ahead of the game. People are giving me advice and I am already doing it. Which,
Right.
which is where people can get arrogant at, which I had to keep myself low, where it's like, oh, people are like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. And I'm like, I'm already doing this. You just don't really know it yet. And so that's kind of where I got confident. I was like, okay, I know what I'm talking about. And
Mhm.
then people just kind of started, I'm like, eventually enough people were like, oh, that's kind of like a cool idea that you're thinking about. And I was like,
Already.
I guess I don't ever think I'm right or wrong. I don't ever think I really know what I'm talking about. I just say, hey, this is what I'm doing, guys. Like, this is what I think. Like, based,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think like a lot of times the actions speak louder than words, right? Like it really is, like a lot of, I can tell you, there are a lot of people like you would have ideas like, oh, what I want to do, wouldn't that be wonderful? But how many of them actually put in the work? Because it's like, it's a lot of work. I can tell you right now, it's a lot of work. It's not only like hours, but then we're also talking about mind work, mindset work, mental work. Like you really stretch all of your mentality, being an entrepreneur. Like if anybody comes to me and is like, oh, my life is stalled and I want to look for challenge, I would be like, start a business. Start a business is the best way for you to like pick up your life again. Like if you want challenge and spice in your life, definitely start a business. Then you will definitely be stretching in a very different level if you have never done it before. At least like for me, that was my journey. It's tough. I mean, it's not easy at all, but I love, like what you're talking about, in terms of like not being afraid or like, that mindset, like that like let's just go, let's just do it. Like I love that a lot, and I think that's what put you ahead as well.
I try. It's a great response. I try. It's my motto. I try. That's it. So like, what was your journey per se? Like, what were your parents thinking when you're like, I'm not gonna go have like a corporate job or anything, even though I did college and stuff. I'm not gonna go do corporate. I'm gonna build websites and do my own business. Like, what was like the whole process on that?
Oh, thanks for asking. That's an interesting one. I actually, for the longest time, like you, I didn't tell my mom. I was okay. So let's rewind a little bit. My mom was an entrepreneur as well. Like she had her own company. Yeah, she started her own company, and in Hong Kong, she owned an advertising agency.
Wow. Well, okay, that's a really big caveat.
Yeah, so like I was like, so growing up, I've seen her doing business, but I didn't understand, like I'm a teenager, like it's like ignorant teenager. Like all I see just she works a lot, which everyone works a lot in Hong Kong. So like, but then like there are mindsets that she taught me that I didn't know that it was so useful until today. Like one thing that she taught me is like you always think ahead. Don't like, let's say your clients like tell you this, but then you think ahead, like why do they want it, like what is the results that I want to get. Like you got to think ahead of yourself and for yourself and for your clients, for you to be ahead. Like that's one of the mindset I really like. But anyway, so like she was an entrepreneur. She started her own company, and she started very low. Like she started in advertising. Like she started as a cold caller. Basically, she cold called it, like people, like clients for her previous company. And then like she started working her way up, and then like finally like she jumped out, and then started her own agency. And that's how it started. But then like anyways, but then for the longest time I wouldn't like dare to tell her, oh, I'm going to go off and do my own thing, because I graduated college. I work in investment bank. She was so excited to tell all her friends, about like, oh, how my daughter's, working in the investment bank in the US. But I can tell you right now, like I'm not trying to downplay myself, but the work that I was doing, it's I don't want to say insulting, because it's actually a privilege to work in a firm like that. But at the same time, I feel like, wow, like you really don't need a college degree to do these things, I'm serious. You don't need that. You're not talking to clients. You're just talking documentation. You don't need a college degree to do documentation, like lining up like letters, taking out like enter like data entry and stuff like you don't. And then, but anyways, that was my job, and I didn't like it. I didn't do well in politics, the corporate politics. Like I definitely didn't do well, and in that, and so very soon I jumped. I know that like this is not for me, but I've always been passionate about like business, also like startup and stuff like that. Fast forward, when I first took over this company, this business, it was really difficult. Mindset change is the hardest part for me, because I thought I was entrepreneurial mindset enough, like, have that kind of mindset. I thought I was in that kind of mindset all along, but I was so wrong. I think a lot of the times I'm still like in the mindset of like, oh, like I just want to coast, like it's like I'm doing a good job, I'm doing my job right. But then like if you're a business owner, it's more than just doing your job right, doing a good job, like that is not enough. And so like with that struggle, with that mindset change, I have to say I cry a lot. My first year, it's all tears, like I'm glad that I'm very blessed with like a very patient and caring spouse that were there. He was there for me the whole time when I was like, I find myself annoying. Why are you crying again? With all those stress, like financially, how do I pay my people? How do I like the client doesn't like my work, or like they left, like because of this stupid mistake that I made. Like all these things, you just have to get used to it and like find your way out of your failures. And that's the hardest part for me. It was a lot of tears, a lot of struggles for my first 2 years. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you purchased this, right?
Yeah. So like, we purchased this business because the owner was about to step out. It was a really good friend of ours, and then he was stepping out of the business. And then we just like, oh, that's a great opportunity. So we took it over from him.
Talk about that before, because my parents are both like no, not both. My dad is from scratch, so he's in real estate. Both my parents are business owners, which I think really plays a part in kids being an entrepreneur, is if their parents were. My dad being in real estate, ground up kind of person. Him and my mom were married. I say it like they got married after I was born. They were married before I was born. They had me. So watching my parents, my mom was always in like nursing to begin with. And then she kind of did her own thing where she was selling Avon. But before that, I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like 2008 or something. I was probably like 10 or 9 or whatever. They had went out and there was some business, and they bought a rest care facility. Like my dad bought and they did it in part. It was like a power couple move, right? My dad being in real estate bought the building. My mom bought the business that the building was in. That they were in. So my mom owned the business, my dad owned the building. So that's how that kind of worked. And I was really able to see how it worked, right? But I don't know much about what it really means to buy a business, because I was way too young. I was still being homeschooled when they bought it. That's how young I was.
That's another thing I want to ask you. I mean, I know you asked me a question already, but then like I also want to know, like when you get homeschooled and eventually you went back to like actual like I don't know how to describe it, a normal school setting, if you would. So how does that transition goes? Because like being homeschooled, the things that you learn, maybe like the way that you learn things or your schedule probably are very different from like kids that have been going to school since they were younger.
It very much depends on your parents. I got lucky because my mom very much cared about us, and the reason she homeschooled us was because she was going to put us in school, and she was like, bump that, y'all not doing what y'all supposed to do. Like, I'm from New Haven. It is not a really, really, really good school system. It's very common that minorities, like people, the Black and brown community members, don't have the best school systems, and that's a systemic kind of thing. But my mom said, bump that. I'm not gonna let my kids like be like, it's not like, you can't really blame this. So she's like, screw you guys, I'll do it myself. And that's, I think, an epitome
love that
Black woman
attitude
thing. That is like a I don't want to say stereotypical, but that is like a prime Black woman move. Like, y'all not doing this right, I'm gonna do it myself, kind of thing.
You have no idea how much I admire that. That is not like an attitude or a mindset in my community. And I'm trying to acquire that. Maybe I should like talk to your mom. You know,
I will. She loves talk. She loves talking to people. I can set you up with talking to her. She loves talking to people. But she being in that, it was the transition felt like, one, they knew what they were like, them being entrepreneurs and understanding successes and what school doesn't teach me. They were able to give me what school gave me and then some more. And we were able to do like a lot of hands-on things. So one of the biggest things was traveling, right? Like if we were learning about something, we can go there. My mom had the ability because my dad was working. My dad worked a lot. He was a correction officer and he had real estate and everything.
Yeah.
And so like we were able to, like, my mom was able to be like a stay-at-home mom. And then she got the business. And so, you know, we could go with her to work. We could just kind of chill out up in her office and everything. There was a whole top floor and whatnot. And so the transition was primarily social, even though we had a whole lot of social things, right? That was probably the biggest like transition, right? Because we went from just me to like 20 kids, right? And while you have social interactions, I went to summer camp, I played sports, I had after school activities and stuff like that, like with other kids. Like my house was the hangout spot. We had a basketball like hoop in our backyard. So like, you know, neighborhood kids, like we all play, hey, we're all playing. Like, you know, there was kids in our neighborhood and everything.
Nice.
So that was where we got social interaction, but being in social interaction in actual school is a lot different. The reason being is because your parents control to a degree who you can socialize with when they put you in programs. So I was going to, for the lack of better words, and because I love this podcast, I was going to suburban after school activities, right? I'm a Black person and I can be real like that, right? I'm Black and I lived in the hood essentially. We lived on a nice street in the hood, like probably one of the better, like it was one of those streets that was, oh, you live in the hood. Oh no, you don't really you live on that street though. You live on that nice street. That don't really count. So that's not really the hood. It's the hood. It's in the hood, but it's not that street. That street don't count. That street don't count, guy. So
that's a cutoff line right there.
Right, there was a cutoff line. And so my very first year I went to Beecher. Beecher was a public school, right? So my very first year I was in public school, and that was a large transition, right? Up until that point, I had primarily been with people from my kind of background. So we'll call it a suburban kind of background. So my taste was different. How I spoke was different. What I liked was different. You know, the things I did and how I carried myself in school was different. What I was afraid of was different. Like a teacher saying they're going to call my parents would get me to actually stop. Like, oh, we're going to call your parents. I'm okay. Oh, don't do that. Oh no, I'm there's a real large thing. And so being in that particular environment was a very, very large shift, because I went from being, I don't want to say normal, but to being almost like an outcast. I was Black, but very, very small of the people really were like considering. It was like a huge thing. It was like being like an orc. That was a very large thing when I was growing up, you know, acting Black, if you will, or not acting Black and everything, or you're not Black enough because you don't do X, Y, and Z.
Right. Which I found that very fascinating, because like this whole racist concept, like, or racism concept, is very new to me. And I don't know if that's, you know, like it's appropriate here, but then like it's very new to me, and to that extent is even like, oh wow, it really like wowed me in some way. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah, no, I actually was watching something last night. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a comedian. His name is Jimmy O Yang, but I was watching him last night. Was super funny from this show I was watching, but it was really about being different. You know, when you're coming from a certain environment, sometimes you're not different because everybody is like that, right? So the environments that I was coming from, everybody listened to the teachers. Everybody listened to their parents. Everybody was thinking about college. Everybody was doing X, Y, and Z. And so then coming to this environment where almost none of that was the case was completely different, because I was like, well, what did I do? This is what adults are doing, this is what grown people are thinking and everything, but I'm not acting a certain way. I'm not talking a certain way. I didn't really know how to cuss and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I didn't know how to cuss in fifth grade. Like in fifth grade, I was like, everyone else was miles above cussing. I just put a bunch of words
They
together.
graduated with it already.
Right. They had
Just
graduated with it. I was just starting. And like,
that's funny.
that would mean that I wasn't doing certain things. My parents didn't let me go of certain places. My dad was very protective because he was a correction officer. That means he was like someone that worked in a jail and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like the hardest shift was a social shift, because I went from a different, it was not that I didn't have social, it's that I had a different interaction for my social.
You're like almost like a bubble before.
Right. I was in a super bubble, and then I went to that kind of school, and then I went to private. Then I went to private school. Like after that year, my parents were like, "Nah." Then they put me in private school, and they didn't even put me in like a good private school. I don't want to say they didn't put me in a good private school, because I don't want someone to come to be like, "Oh, that's funny," but it was definitely not your stereotypical private school, and so then there was that shift, and another crazy shift. When I was in fifth grade, when I was in class, in fifth grade, you don't switch classes. Really. You're in one class all day with the same people.
Okay.
Right? I was in an all boys class. My parents put me in an all boys class because that was an option. And it was like, oh, we don't want our son to have like that distraction. And apparently kids do better in like an all boys class.
Let me tell you, I'm in all girls school, but go ahead.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Yes. I like all my life from elementary school, because we have a different school system in Hong Kong, but like elementary school all the way to high school, all girls.
Oh my gosh. So really quick, and I want you to actually talk about that. So fifth grade, I had an all boys class. Sixth, seventh, and eighth grade was the hardest for me, because now I was in class and there was girls. And that's when I found out how much I was addicted to women. Like I was like, and it was not a large class either. So it's not like there was a lot of kids, like a lot of people. There was more girls than boys. There was me, 4 other boys in the class, and 12 girls. And my graduating class had 12 girls and 5 boys. I was one of those boys, right?
My gosh.
Not a good look. I was crappy with girls and everything during that particular time. And most of the class was girls. So I was pretty unpopular from the jump during that particular period. Fast forward, high school, I went to Notre Dame, which if you don't know, Notre Dame is an all boys high school. They have a different co-ed version, which I went to go check out because my dad went to that high school. He went to an all boys one, but they have a different version, like a couple of miles, like a
co-ed?
Like a co-ed version 40 miles out. So they had Notre Dame, which was co-ed, but the Notre Dame I went to was all boys, right? Because my dad went there and everything. And that was, I don't want to say it worked. I don't want to say it worked, but there was a lot of different things. And so my transition was very weird. So I want to hear about your experience going to like an all-girls school, because I've had my experiences as an all-boys school.
Yeah, no. I actually would like to listen to your interactions with the opposite sex when you actually finally get the chance to, because in my observation, right, like all girls school, oh my gosh, girls in all girls school are the most masculine, if you will. Like all of it, maybe like again, if it's not appropriate, you can cut it off, but whatever, you know,
like we're freeling right now. I like this.
Let's do this. So like I would imagine, right, a lot of people when it is like all girls school, like it would be like heaven, right? Like all the girls like all pretty and whatnot, you know, like they're like so, you know, giggling with each other. Like that is not the case in girls school. Like guys, you know, let me wake you up. Like this is what happened in girls school. You basically prank each other all the time because there's no guys. Like you got the worst prank, you know, like pretty sexual prank too, you know, sometimes at times. Like also in boys school too, I'm pretty sure. But then, you know, like you go.
I got a story for that later.
Yeah, no, like seriously, you go pretty far with that. And then also like all the girls are more like masculine, if you would. They're not really like, oh, you know, like it's soft. No, girls in girls school, oh my gosh, they like talk loud, they yell, they like sit like a guy, all that good stuff, So, but then one thing that I do realize that is that we, all of us, like the girls who grew up in girls' school, we're all very awkward around the opposite sexes when the chances come. Like, let's say when we actually graduated school and actually, go out to the real world where you actually need to interact with the opposite sexes, either women or men, right? So I mean, like, there are more sexes now, but then, like, basically still those two, like, basic categories. But like, and that's when the problem comes, because we don't know how. Like, for the longest time, I'm talking about from elementary school, that's 6 years for me. And then you go to, even before college, that's 7 years. So we're talking about 13 years that you're very strictly, well, I was lucky because I dated, but a lot of my friends didn't. And it becomes a really difficult task, to try to date someone, because you don't know even how to react like around them. I was like really awkward. Like, there are times that around guys, I'm like, don't come close, and I have to get over it. And I'm happily married right now, like today, but then, like, at the same time, like at that, it was really tough. So I would like to know how your experience is, just to, transition from like being all boys, like you're around boys and you're very comfortable with them because you know how they fly, right? How they work, right? But then when you are mixed in opposite sexes there, and then you started like, oh, like how should it, like, what's the norm here, right? That's my experience.
What's going on, Ramblers? I don't mean to interrupt today's podcast, but we have a quick mid-roll from our sponsors.
This is the experience for an all boys. I hope you're ready for this, and I hope the crowd's ready. All right. There's a couple of points, right? So one of, like, as you said, the jokes can become very sexual at all same gender school, right? And being like, guys are historically against homosexuality.
Okay.
Historically, guys in general.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is when it's only guys.
Yes,
and when it is just guys and there is only testosterone allowed. Exactly. The jokes fly off the handle because kids as like young kids, dudes, right, are immature, are all these different things,
and
they're curious, and people play sports, and there's a certain line of comfortability once you start playing sports, right? starts with good game, and then towel slaps, and then people are like not really jumping you, but they're like, I don't want to call it they're tickling you, but they're like, okay, so it's weird, and I don't want to like out any, like, people are gonna lie, like I'm 100% prepared for any backlash I get on this, right? There was a lot of people that they'll be like, oh, I'm straight, right? There was a period of time where I will not name names, but if someone were to come at me, I will name it, on the side, on my Twitter. In the locker room, like, it would be super funny or super weird, but what happened is someone would come in and turn the locker room lights off.
Oh shoot.
Just to turn them off. And that, like, if you turn the locker room, like, you turn off the locker room,
anything happens.
Everything happens. Like, I kid you not, people are trying to put fingers up people's butt. Like, I don't know if that's a thing, but it's like as like a joke kind of thing, because you see it on cartoons, like you see people do, like, I'm a huge anime fan, right? And so some people like anime, and there's kids going around like, I'm like, oh my God. Y'all out here like whipping, like dropping your towel on purpose and stuff, like, because it's a joke and everything. But it was absolutely crazy on one end. Like, that's the unspoken part about
boys school,
all boys school. Boys are uncomfortably comfortable. And I have friends that would be like, man, I ain't with none of that kind of stuff. You're lying, bro. Like, in high school, everyone had like they little jokes and stuff. People would like, it was be fun. Like, people would say weird things. Like, people would be like to say weird stuff. I can't repeat it on the podcast.
Yeah.
But it would say crazy things. But the other aspect of it, right? And I think this could be kind of deciphered, but it's not like well known, is when you're in an all boys school and there's only testosterone, there's one thing that boys like to talk about. There's only one thing. The sports is fine, right? But there is one topic, the only topic, the most talked about topic in any all boys school. I don't care where you are. The most talked about topic in any all boys school ever throughout history, historically, right now to this day, I bet.
Really?
Is girls. That's the only thing we talk about. That's the only thing.
Oh my goodness.
The only thing we talk about is women. And then once you're in high school, and it wasn't, like I said, it was, if I were to rank my private high school compared to the other private high schools, we were probably in the bottom, right? We're school-wise, top tier. Private school-wise, that's a different category. We're low tier.
Right.
We're in a lower end. We're cheaper, more in a urban kind of area and everything, more Black people, all that kind of stuff. So girls is the biggest thing. And one of the things I was told was when I was shadowing was you'll meet a lot more girls here than going to a mixed school. But the reason is because we're a private school, we have boys coming from all over.
Right.
And so when boys talk, they only talk about women. So when boys hang out, their mission, their sole purpose and goal is to go find some girls to hang out. So when you start clicking up with a bunch of different people, it was true. You really do meet a bunch of women or girls and everything from other cities. So it's not just like girls from your local town. You really know girls from all over because it was almost peer pressure, like to talk to girls. And so that was like, that's how it wasn't like it was weird for when I transitioned. There was no awkwardness, I guess, if you will, because the only thing men care about is women. Like before they even really realize that the only thing they're focused on is talking to girls. Like
this is so funny. Okay, this is what I'm gonna tell you. That's all
they care about.
That is funny. Okay, so this is what happened. It's a really interesting setting in my school. So imagine my school is back up in the corner, like in a dead end, like not alley. I wouldn't say alley, but a street, right? From my school, and across the street is actually a boys' school.
Was it your brother's school?
No, I don't have a brother, but it's a boys' school.
No, I'm saying, was it like your brother's school? Like, did you?
No, it's not. It's not. We're not related in any way. Structure, even like system wise, we're not related. So it just like happens to be our girls' school is on this side of the street, and it's a dead end. There's no like other street out. So like we're trapped basically. This girls' school and the boys' school like right across the street. A lot of funny things happen when you have a setting like that, because like all the boys are like, oh my gosh, they would walk in the top level because the top level of their school can actually see our school, and we also have corridors on the outside, right? So they're basically constantly looking over, and there's the times that they would like literally write their phone number on a banner and show it to the girls' school. But yeah, it's hilarious. So like all the time, and they call me, like have a banner out and then show it to our school, which is all girls. But then what they don't know is that girls in girls' school, at least in my case, I guess it's peer pressure. I don't know. It's kind of what do you call it? The crab effect, like how the crabs will climb up.
Crab in a barrel.
The other one like would like pull it down. What do you call it? The crab
in a barrel effect.
Crab in a barrel effect. So that's kind of like how it works, how it rolls in girls' school. Because if you are trying to attract the other, like the opposite sex, of course, if you're acting very masculine, like you are always in school, it's not very attractive to guys, right? So, but then if you start like acting a little differently, all the girls are on your case, like, oh my gosh, look at her, like she's like, flirting with those guys, like, oh my gosh, what a whore, like literally. So like it's somehow you kind of prevent each other to get to know guys or to date in a way. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic. Like somehow they don't want you to, like, they would start talking about you behind your back if they know that you start mingling with guys or like start dating, seeing someone, they were like, oh my gosh, look at that whore. Like they literally will call you that. And it's a very different dynamic for sure.
Wow. Yeah. Like,
yeah.
There is the dynamic of crabs in a barrel and in all boys because it's just I think it was more of a racism kind of thing in that, or like it was not racism kind of, I don't want to say racism, but there was more of like a black and white divide and that kind of thing, because naturally in any kind of school, there's an instant divide of, black people hang with black people, white people hang with white people, Spanish people hang with Spanish people, Asian people hang with Asian people, instantly. And then there's cross divides, like where there's like they always, cross pollinations, but to a degree, like I could probably label where people sat in like, I know just because I'm black, that the black people sat naturally, I guess, towards the back of the lunchroom in the right-hand corner, like the right-hand corner.
Oh, so you have your group.
Like there was a group right there, and then the far, like it was like the back corner. It was like this is how the lunchroom was. It was a long rectangle, right? And on the back end, there was the cool black kids, and then on the other end, it was the cool white kids. And then as you get closer into the middle, it was literally like a mix. Like I think theater kids sat like dead in the middle. Though I don't want to call them. Those were the kids that were really diverse. Those were the really diverse groups. And I kind of sat in the back of black people because I just like black people. I'm comfortable with them. But I really do float around and go see everything because I'm an everybody kind of person. I was raised suburban. That's not
yeah, but like when you said that, I thought it was really cool. I mean, like, do you still have like some sort of like, groupings and whatnot? But then it sounds like in the middle, it's a mix, right?
Yeah, it goes from like extremes into mix, and then certain time because of classes and everything. Like sometimes you have, we're gonna go sit over here and switch and things like that. But primarily, you could literally kind of see what the dynamic was, like where it went and everything. And people would sometimes sit differently depending on the wave. So sometimes like certain people would get there first because we only have like 18 minutes for lunch and everything. But yeah, the primary thing that like people talk about at lunch, especially on Monday, is what did you do this weekend? Who did you, hook up with, if you per se like hook up with? And so that's a lot of pressure as like a young man, right? You're hanging out with your friends and everything.
You gotta perform.
Right. Everyone's talking about like what their weekend excursions and everything. And for me, my parents aren't letting me out the house, but everyone else's parents are letting me roam willy-nilly and whatnot. So I'm like, I don't want to say I was fiending, but I was most certainly an extra try hard in that particular category. I was most definitely like doing every and any little thing I could. Like, I don't know if my mom's gonna hear this, but she probably does. But I'm sorry. What would happen is I would sometimes get detention. Like, and we could get detention for not wearing like our belt. Like we could easily get things, but I got a little bit of freedom. And so one of my big things was after school activities. I didn't do many after school activities. I did sports. Really. That was about it. And I was in certain clubs here and there, but I would always reflect my time basis to try, like, that's where social media came, right? So my thing was, I'm going to talk to girls on the internet. And then during my very limited of time where I could actually be outside, which was because I caught the city bus to school. So I would catch the city bus and I always would have to be home. Probably, like, I knew I had to be home like around 5, 6 o'clock. Like, after
you're a good kid.
So I was like, after 5, like once it hit like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, because my parents knew what time I got out of school, I knew it would kind of start to be a question of what were you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah. What took you so long to get home, kind of thing. And so I calculated my after school time. I probably had 2 to sometimes 3 hours. And then senior year, when study hall came and I could leave early, it was a wrap. But those I would talk to girls online. Like only thing I did on Facebook growing up was talking to girls. That was it. Only thing on Facebook I did was talking. That was my entire life growing up in high school.
Oh wow!
Talking to girls on Facebook. So that on my way home, because I have to pass through downtown, like you got to catch the bus also all go through downtown, and I would be like, I have 2 to 3 hours of myself. So I'm going to do everything I can to like talk to, like try to go meet a girl, hang out with a girl in between those 2 to 3 hours. So I would go like on dates to stuff downtown. We'd go to like Starbucks, we'd go to like Chipotle, to the movies.
Oh, that's awesome.
Do all like I tried to squeeze in all these little stuff downtown. Sometimes I would be like hanging out with a girl for an hour and then go hang out with like another girl and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, look at you, the butterfly, the playboy here. Huh?
I was not at all. No, it was like it was not a playboy thing. It was like school, like this was a job. Like I was hustling. I'm a hustling for this kind of thing.
Hustling all these girls.
Right, you feel me? I'm trying to hustle and everything. But every other guy is like, oh, I don't got to be home till like 9 o'clock. And they like just chill out. And I'm like, bro, you can go do whatever you want, kind of thing. Like they was going to the mall. My parents were the parents that said the mall is not a hangout spot for teenagers. So I never really got to hang out at the mall because I didn't have it. My parents were like, you don't have any money. What are you doing out hanging out at the mall? Like that was my parents.
Gosh.
And so that's like probably a huge dynamic difference for me going to like an all boys school.
Yeah, no, I can see that. That's interesting. I mean, like, I have a lot of stories to share, but I don't know, like, if this is like at the time.
Oh, I can always cut. Listen, I can cut everything or anything.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm familiar with that, you know, like we don't do like the boys thing, but then like definitely a lot of girls try to like still try to get out and, you know, like see people like and you know, go date and stuff like that. And I'm actually my life is a little easier as a teenager. I'm like more free flow. I'm the most free flow in among all of my friends. Mm-hmm. But still, like I'm with you. Like there are times that you sneak out and then you calculate your time. I think it was really funny.
Podcast confession, because I'm 24 now. I'm not scared of a woman. You can't spank me. Like there's nothing at this point. There's nothing my parents can do, and it's not even a major confession. But podcast confession. I was a large sneaker outer. That's not a.
Me too. Like high five.
Oh, no. Okay. Now I need some actual context. When you say were you sneaking out like the house?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
cool.
Apartment. Yeah.
Oh, you really
sneaking
out?
It was a whole operation. Like sometimes actually involved like. It involved my dad too, but that was like a very interesting part of it. Yeah.
Okay, no. Now we have to go into an entire small little sidebar segment about sneaking out. So we lived on the third floor of like a 3-family apartment, right? My grandmother lived on the first floor. We had the second and third floor, right? All the bedrooms are on the third floor, which is where everybody sleeps at. Me, my 2 brothers, and my parents.
Right.
Sneaking out the house was a Mission Impossible mission every single night. Sometimes my dad, because he would work a double shift, right? And if he worked a double shift, that means he came home at 12 o'clock on the dot. I hated those nights because that means I don't have a lot of time after I sneak out to be out, right? So sneaking out was at some point, sometimes I literally scaled the side of my house. Like me, like the... Have you ever seen Fairly Odd Parents? Maybe like there's a show.
Not...
So there was a cartoon where the character could never stay up past his bedtime. Like as soon as 9 o'clock hit, he just instantly fell asleep. Right. And so he wished that he was able to stay up past his bedtime. And so he stayed up past his bedtime to just see what was going on with kids. Like what do parents do after like kids go to sleep kind of thing.
Right.
And so me and my friend, this is the first time I ever had snuck out, right? My friends were over and we were on the porch because we had like a balcony porch that was like closed in at the top on the second floor. We were sleeping out there because my parents like keep the noise out there. And we were looking out the window because it was like a screen and we would just like kind of like shout at people walking by. Like, hey, you. And they would like look around and be like, yo, where's that coming from? We would like duck and everything. And then one day we were like, yo, let's go outside. Like, let's go see what's going on out there. And from that point on, sneaking out was like from freshman year to senior year, I snuck out on average, probably at least once a week. I probably didn't go a week without sneaking out because I was trying, like, especially when you live in the hood, there's always like kids in the hood are way more fun. They're doing things after night. Like you can go find stuff to do in the hood after night as a kid. Like, yo, I remember I remember sneaking out to a party. Mind you, I was like 14, 15.
Uh-huh.
I snuck out to a party and we were in another basement. Like the parents let their kids throw a party. It was like a Friday night.
Wow,
right?
that's amazing. That's always amazed me. That's definitely not something that would happen in my house.
Right. You feel me? Like it baffled me. I'm like, yo, y'all parents are fucking. And some kids, like, it didn't hit me then because when you're a kid and you're a teenager, you feel like I'm grown. I'm an adult.
Yeah, exactly.
There were kids smoking like cigarettes and drinking and everything.
Damn.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm not gonna do it, but go ahead, y'all can be cool. Looking back, I'm like, yo, what the heck was wrong with some of us? But yeah. I was sneaking out to parties, and the DJ at this party had to probably be like 16, maybe 17. And we're like 14, 15, right? And so he made an announcement over the thing and said, like, talking to 8th graders and 7th graders, right? Because 7th and 8th graders kind of got in. And they had security. I don't know why. So it's the hood. Every party has security. Even if it's just like your older brother patting people down. That's really what it was. It was like your older OGs, like, yo, I got you, Brody. I'll watch them. Because they're your OGs, right? They're not trying to party with no kids.
Right.
But they like, I'll make sure you safe, bro. I'll pat your peoples down.
Yeah.
He told he was like, yo, there's too many young kids in here. Y'all kids need to get them out. And looking back, I'm like, bro, we are all kids here hanging out. It's like 17, it's like 15 and 16-year-olds telling like, it's like freshmen and sophomores telling like 7th and 8th graders, yo, y'all too young to be in here. Nah, we don't mess with that. So that was my sneak out. Like I was sneaking out to parties. I was sneaking out to girls' houses. That was like the big thing. Oh my God. Like moms being from the hood, it's a low income area, right? So a lot of parents work over.
Right.
If your mom worked overnight, you could best believe I was sneaking out the house, and that's where I'll end it. But yeah, that was me. I need to know like what it was like for you sneaking out. Because very rarely have I met another woman or like a girl that has snuck out. And so,
oh really? Yeah, no way.
I've met people that said no, my parents worked overnight. They could sneak people in. You snuck out. You snuck out. That's some husky stuff.
Such a good student. Yeah, I have a mixture of like being a good student and very like good Asian person. No, I feel like today I'm breaking it here.
Okay, no. Okay, so I don't have a lot of views really. So put it like this: the chance of someone listening to this podcast is very like. What would have to happen for someone to hear this?
So you're a living organism. You're a person. I don't usually tell people that, but anyways, I'm happy to share that. I'm like, it's just a fun part of my life. I look at it this way, but yeah, for my house's operation. So think about so in my apartment, we're in the older building. I live on the 7th floor. It's apartment, and then like this whole floor, it just my apartment, because we usually they have 2, and then like my grandparents just bought 2 of them, and like they have 7 kids. Oh, 6 kids, sorry, 6 kids. So like it's actually quite a few kids. It's actually a lot of kids for people and family in Hong Kong, because like places are very small and dense. Like imagine Manhattan, you have like 7 kids in Manhattan. That's basically what it is like in Hong Kong. So like they bought 2 apartments, and they'd like,
oh, you were sneaking out like in Hong Kong?
Yeah, I was sneaking out.
Oh yeah, I'm interested. oh yeah, I need to know what this is. Like,
it was funny though. So one of the times I was sneaking out, because at that time I was dating my boyfriend. It's you may be able to resonate with this. So like he was lining up, like kind of like Apple, like how like iPhones, when they first come out, like people will actually line up overnight outside just to buy it.
Right.
That was him trying to buy a pair of sneakers. Now don't act like it's something like high dunk something sneaker. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, but he told me, oh, I was in like, basically it's like something like Times Square. I'm in Times Square, like lining up outside, trying to buy the sneaker first thing in the morning when the shop opened. So I'll be here all night. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can come join you then. So that's one of the times that I snuck out, and then I snuck out many times like later on before that as well. But then like imagine like in an apartment, like you only have one apartment on this floor, our apartment, we have 3 doors, two gates, 1 door. So one wooden door is the main door that you go out, but then like before that door you have a gate, and then before you reach the there's not much space, it's really tiny, but before you reach the elevator there's another gate. So going out you have to go through 1 door, 1 wooden door with like 2 locks on them, and then gates which like would make noise when you open them. And they also have this like locks that really make a lot of noise. So what happened is like before, if I know I'm gonna sneak out, I wait till everyone went to bed. Like before they go to bed, I would like secretly go like unlock all the doors. And then you secretly unlock all the doors, all the gates, before I sneak out. And then I don't use the elevator because the elevator, it's a small place. So like calling the elevator, people know, like my grandpa will hear it.
Right.
It's a small place. So like what I do is like after I sneak out, I still have to close the door. I don't want anybody to rob my house when I get out. So like I would close the door back, and then I would walk the stairs down, like you have the emergency exit, you walk that down to the lobby and then go out. That's how I snuck out. But I have to wait till everyone is sleeping.
Yes.
Every one of them.
I had to wait till I had to literally wait till everyone was sleeping. And it would be irking because you could like my mom is a light sleeper, but you could tell when my dad was sleeping. And that's
your sign.
That was my sign, because my dad snores. That man is a bit like I could hear him from my room. So like there would be times like I would just sit there. Like the most nervous I had ever been was like
when he stopped snoring.
Is like I know I had did my prep, right? So I unlocked the door that I would use to climb down the house. I made I made sure that like there was a point where I prepped my bed like a dummy, where I would fix my pillows, because sometimes if my mom walked by, she would just peek in, but she wouldn't really turn the light on. So like what I did was I had a dresser, and I put my TV, I had a TV, put my TV on the dresser and moved it in front of my bed, basically. So when you looked in my room, normally it looks like I'm playing the game. I play the game, right? But at night, when I'm sleeping, you can't see my head. You can just
you just see like a shape, a contour of the
you can see my, like the way it was is my bed was like this. And my head was here, right? So my body would lay this way, but my TV was like right here. So you can see like the look. It would block like my shoulders up, like half my body. So I would fix it so that it looked like there was still stuff there and someone would be sleeping and everything. And I would sneak out, and the prep for it. I remember one time my dad was like sleeping, and I snuck out, and I was coming, and I guess like my dad had got water or something. Something had happened, and I had to sneak back in. That was always a scare. Like
yes,
sneaking back in was like,
you'll see, oh my god, you're making really quiet. Turning those locks.
Quiet. Like one time, and if my parents ever heard me, like, because the hard part was once I got in the house, I had to go up 1 flight of stairs. That's it. Just one small set of stairs to get to the 3rd floor. Because no matter what, even if I snuck out through the window and climbed down, I'd have to climb back up, sneak, go. And then I'd be on the 2nd floor. But the bedroom is on the 3rd. And my mom is a very light sleeper. So she probably would have heard me going down the stairs, but she didn't. But coming up, sometimes like I got caught, I would be like, AJ, why are you like quietly coming up the stairs? My mom would like basically catch me. My lie was I just went downstairs for some water. So I went downstairs. I had just woke up, and that was like my thing. But yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Like there was a time where when I had not my very first girlfriend, but my like very first serious girlfriend.
Right.
My entire week, like I don't think I really slept during that time. Like when we met, like, because she would sneak me in, and what would happen is I would sneak, like my dad would be home at 12. So my schedule went like this. Like I would sneak out around 1 o'clock, 1:30, and go to my girlfriend's house. And then because I caught the city bus to school, I would leave the house normally before my parents. So I'm not stupid. I like to think I'm a genius. So what and it's kind of manipulative. It's kind of
oh, just go to school early because I have a project or something like that.
I before I actually snuck out and did this, I'm a planner. Like you are, like I'm scared. I'm a scary person. So I'm going to thoroughly plan. I literally analyzed my parents' schedule, their habits. I had my parents' habits down to a T. So I would sneak out. I would for like a whole month. I was going to school early.
Oh.
Just to go, I was literally just going to school early. I was like, I'm like my parents, and then one day, like I came up and I was like, oh, you were like out. I was like, yeah, I just want like I've been getting work done before. I've been getting like because we have like the calf and people can get breakfast, and I'm like, yeah, I just been catching the bus and everything, and I would be up before my dad. My dad would be the first person up normally, so we could go to work. So if I beat my dad going up, it was like it was pretty good. So what I did was eventually, when I snuck out, is I snuck out after my dad went to sleep, and I would bring all of my stuff for school and just leave from her house because my parents would think I just already left for school. So I would maximize and she was closer to a bus stop than I was. So I had like an extra like 5-10 minutes, which isn't really nothing, but you know, I would be able to do that, and I was leaving from her house. So I would wake up. I wasn't even sleeping, right? I didn't get any sleep probably during that time. I was sneaking out at 1:30 and spending the night there essentially, and then leaving in the morning to go catch the bus and do all that other stuff. But
that is funny.
I was only getting like 2 or 3 hours of sleep because like I had to actually spend time with her. Like we would watch movies, we would hang out. It was like the best time of my life, almost probably looking back.
No, like those are always fun, but then her parents don't know? Her parents didn't know? Or are they okay with it?
No, they didn't know because she was able to have her door closed. So that was the lucky part. She was able to have her door closed and locked. She was also 2 years older than me. So she had graduated high school already. So there was that. But she was on the first floor and she had a window.
Easy. Yeah, that's easy.
It was easy.
It's in and out.
It was easy in and out. Doors closed. I just go right in the thing.
Oh, nice. That's a great setup. That's awesome.
It was super easy.
That's an awesome setup.
I did not get caught sneaking out until my senior year. I had snuck out a lot of times. I was sneaking out for years before that, right? And then I got caught my senior year. And I just think because my senior year, after I got my girlfriend, like sneaking out just was like a freaking, it was not over, but it was like when I got my girlfriend and I was sneaking out, it was literally just like at that point I had sneaking out so down packed, I got lazy. Like you ever get so good at something when you just kind of like lazy. I'm just like I already got this. Like I didn't take as much care going downstairs. Yep. I stopped setting up my bed like because I'm like y'all not checking, and I was just like
And usually that's when you get caught.
I got caught. My mom busted me, and I got like crazy. I had never gotten caught sneaking out. In my senior year, I got caught sneaking out 3 times.
Oh come on, dude! You can do better than that.
3 times. 3 times.
That's hilarious though. No, I got caught one time. That time I was actually out with my friends, nearby the school. I traveled, like I caught a bus all the way back to the school because they were hanging out there after an event, and then they were like playing like truth or dare and things like that, right? And all of a sudden my phone rang. And I was like, like shoot. And it was my mom. It kept ringing, and I was like, my heart just like pumping and jumping because like the whole sneaking out thing. My dad was totally fine with me, like staying out and everything. And he was fine. He was cool about that. Yeah, but they're separated. So like my mom lives somewhere. I live with my dad and my grandparents. But then like I can't let my grandparents call me because like the thing is my mom, like they would tell my mom. That's the only thing. So like that time when my mom actually called, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the end of the world, right? And she kept calling. I kept like hanging it up on her, and it was the stupidest thing. Like, do not do that. Just pick it up. I was like, I'm sorry, Mom, I'm coming home. And that's it. No, I keep hanging up on her, and I like shut my phone. Like I shut down my phone eventually. It was so stupid, I'm telling you. And then like I kept hanging out. Oh my gosh, I got into like big trouble for that.
You kept hanging out?
Yeah, I kept hanging out. Yeah,
I turned
off the phone. I turned on the phone and it just kept hanging out. And then, oh my gosh, it was, yeah, I got into big trouble.
No, oh my gosh, that's okay. Hold on real quick. I just had to grab this because
Yeah, I actually have to go at 7:30, so we have still have a few minutes left. But yeah, that was my experience of sneaking out. And then I snuck out many times to a friend's house, stay out for a night, like spend a night there. Of course, to boyfriend's house as well, like a lot of that.
craziest time I got caught was I had snuck out to my girl. And I think my parents, this is like the second time I had got caught. I had snuck out to my girlfriend's house and I wasn't even there for like a full 30 minutes. But what had happened was her mom had woke up. And so her mom was then just up and everything. And then all of a sudden started knocking on her door. So I had to hide in the closet.
Right.
Simultaneously, as I'm hiding in the closet, I had not even been in there a minute. And
the phone rang.
My phone rings. And I look at it and it's my dad. And I'm like,
oh shoot.
I was like, that's nothing serious. So I just let it ring. I'm like, I'm not gonna answer. There's no like, he probably is an accident. He's probably like drunk or something.
Right.
Then my mom calls and I'm like,
that's serious.
Freaking out. So I'm like, I'm texting her. I'm like, yo, my parents are calling me. I gotta go. You gotta get your mom. And I gotta go.
Right.
That was the craziest time for me.
And what did you say? What did you say to your parents?
I got home, like that was the time I had nothing to say because I had already used my excuse. My last excuse was I asked my parents to go to my friend's house to go out, and I snuck out and I just told them, I'm sorry, I disobeyed you. I really wanted to go party. I just hung out with my friends because like there was no way I was going to tell them I went to my girlfriend's house. Like, I would rather take them out for something else. So I just said, yeah, I'm sorry. I snuck out with my friend Brandon. We went to a party.
Right.
The second time I was like, I don't know what to say. I was like, I'm at my girlfriend's house. I was at my girlfriend. I was at my girlfriend's. I ran home. I ran home so fast. When I told my parents where she lived, one, the reason I was scared is because my mom went and confronted her mom the next day about it. And her mom didn't know. Her mom didn't know.
Shoot.
My mom brought me to my girlfriend's house to go tell her mom.
Oh my gosh. Why?
Because my mom was like, her parents probably don't know she snuck you in. So my mom's a snitch. I'm not gonna care. My mom's a snitch. I don't care. I'll say that. My mom's a snitch. So that was like the worst, like my worst call. I want to quickly switch gears because we've talked in personal and everything. And I think I want to end like our conversation or the last bit of our conversation on something that I think might work, right? How do you feel that your experiences, your childhood, and all of that have really developed you as a person? Like how have your experiences, your unique lifestyle and everything that you've been through and like that, how has that changed and made you the business person you are today and even just the person you are today in general?
I love that question. So I mentioned a little bit before, and my parents were divorced when I was at a very young age. And even since then, my mom has a very different approach towards like teaching her kids. Mm-hmm. So like a quick example, like when I was a baby, like a newborn baby, she just took me home. The way, then she was like, oh, you adapted to my schedule so fast. Like I had to stay up for 2 nights and that's it. Like you basically live my schedule. I was like, how did that even happen? Like people like the new parents, they don't sleep for days or months because baby always wake up in the middle of the night. And she was like, well, because like when I first brought you home, I just keep you awake the first 2 days. And then you couldn't sleep and you didn't get any naps or anything like that in the first 2 days. And then at nighttime, just like, you're done. You're done for the day. So like 2 days later, you just adopted that schedule very well. And then so like you go ahead and so I got a full 6 hours at least at nighttime because you were like fast asleep. You're basically like pretty dead, in your bed, in your own cradle. And then like, so with that kind of mindset, a lot of things like she would not like, there are a lot of parents that would help their kids to do things like do their homework, so that they can get A's, even do the homework for them, or care for them in so many ways. At least in my country, like where I grew up, like a lot of parents would help their like art projects or like try to like look over the kids' homework. I have none of that. Like my mom, like if I ask help from her, like sometimes when she's free, she will help me, because remember, she's also a busy business owner as well. So and then she will help me if she have time, but then like most of the time just like, well, it's your own homework, like why don't you do it yourself? That kind of mindset helped me to really like take care of myself, take ownership of what I do, because nobody's there to help you. You know what I mean? Like it's all on you. It's your responsibility. You got to own it. Like if you are late, if you slack off on it, and you take the consequences, you know, like whether that be, you know, your teacher, you know, yelling at you, or you get bad grades or whatever, like you take your own consequences. You take your own fruits, basically, in a sense. So I think that have helped me along the way to be more responsible, and also like it's actually the concept of like ownership. It comes relatively natural to me, and I think that's the first step of like being aware of your mistakes, and like being a better person, you know, learn from those lessons and being a better person. So I think that that's one of the things that, you know, the way that I was raised have helped me.
Wow, that's really amazing right there. I think that's very similar to me almost in certain ways, being because, you know, growing up, it's a little bit different. My dad is one of those people that if I asked him for help for certain things, I think it was if he didn't know it. Like, I think that was like what the key was, right?
Yeah.
If he didn't know it or something. But his thing was, if I didn't really understand, he would be like, did you not pay attention in class? Because in class, like, bro, that's not really how school works. They don't tell you what to, they don't really teach you and then give you the homework on it. Like the teacher could go on a tangent for like an hour or whatever, and then say, oh yeah, don't forget to do homework tonight. Yeah. Bro, you sat here talking about like your personal life for the whole class. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And he would be like, oh, then go look at the beginning of the book. In the beginning of the book, like his whole thing was
you figure it out.
Learn, how to learn, right? Figure it out how to learn, and that's what I do now. I figure things out.
Just like you go figure it out yourself, you know, you can learn, you know. And then the things is whenever my mom come to me and be like, hey, do this, and I was like, I don't know how, you know, it's like, learn, you can learn, you know, like that's literally is my mom respond to it. It's like, just learn, like go learn about it, go learn how to do it yourself, you know, like that's the attitude that I grew up with, but which has helped me a long way. Like back in the days, I'm kind of jealous of other like kids who have like better care from their parents, if you would. But no, like I'm very grateful for that now. But on top of that, besides that question, now it's my turn to ask you, like, who do you want to be?
Me. I want to be the best me. I was like growing up.
What is it like? Oh, sorry, go ahead. You grew up.
Oh no, I was very quickly growing up. It was like I'm a very big Kobe fan. Like I love Kobe, and I was like, because he was the epitome of no luck almost. He was like, I am hard work all the time. Like that was a dedicated man, and he was very successful in his craft. And I don't care what anybody says. I think he was the best player to be in the NBA ever. And I don't care what nobody says. He's over Jordan. But that was what I really loved and everything. And so eventually at some point, something happened. I don't even remember. I think it was a conversation with my mom, but I just was like, I want to be me because I can't be anybody else. It's like, I could want to be Kobe. I could want to be Warren Buffett. I could want to be Bill Gates, but I'm not. And on top of that, I'm Black. So especially being in business, there's not a lot of people that I can say, I want to be. And then it's like, well, you know, that's a white person. So I'm not really trying to like do that. And so my entire identity is like, I am going to be the very best man. So I want a lot of things, and I just like, you know what? I'm going to work towards it. If I want to be the best me, it actually requires work. You want to look better. I can't physically change my face or anything like that, but if, you know, I know that if I put on a couple of pounds, I'll look a little bit better. You know, I'm not going to be so skinny and everything. And so I really was like, at some point, I was like, I'm just going to work on being the best thing. And I can only work on so many things at one time. So I'm going to do it in stages. And right now, I think this is my money stage. I'm trying to, because money and fitness, money and like physical fitness things. And stuff like that. And so that's what I want to be the best version of me.
So what's the best version of you look like? How do they act? How does he act? How does
he's me right the best version of myself is me right now, if you will, because not right now.
So I think you're working towards that, right? Of course, like you setting your path to work towards
I can
that.
do whatever I want. That's literally the best version. When I'm able to say I want to go buy a brand new house and I can pay for it cash and it costs $2 million and I did that, then I'm fine. Like I need to be, I think, like I don't need to be like the richest person ever, but I've set a pretty lofty goal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say comfortable because just statistically people say you don't really get happiness after like 70,000, right? I think that.
Well, I think, okay, so when I say comfortable, like everyone has a different definition for comfortable.
Right. So,
but I get what you're saying.
I think 50 million a year is good. I think if I make somewhere between like if 10, because I look at certain things and I'm like, I know I want certain things, and that's where the disconnect is for me. And so I think 50 million is good.
50 million, is it
a year?
Huh?
50 million a year.
A year, yeah. And that's interesting. That's very interesting. Interesting. And that's basically your goal right now, like who you want to be. It's just, the number. Is that what it is?
It's not just the number. There's a bunch of different things, but like right now, at least I'll be able to do a lot more. Like I want to be able to like set up foundations in the community and everything like that. But a lot of the things that happen require money.
Yes, I agree. Interesting. That's good to know.
I just switched it.
I know.
I know you have a 7:30, so I'll keep. I don't want to keep you. We have like 2 hours of content, so I'll be spending my entire night editing and everything.
I know. Like good luck editing it. I mean, like
it's gonna be. I'm gonna get so much content. Do you want me to send you some like the edits of when I'm done and everything? Like, do you?
Sure. Yeah. Show me. I would love to. And I actually saw your Reddit post. It's really interesting. Like, and I love seeing like people commenting on it. And I thought it was really cool that you started doing that, like recording your journey. I'm trying to do something like that as well, but it was only like for my own reference right now. For now.
Yeah, I think everything is just for my own reference right now. I think I think when it's for your reference, especially as you're growing, it makes it so much easier to just have it be money, have it not be money, but have it become something that you can build on, right? So for right now, it's just for me, but in the future, as I'm big, people are like, oh, how did you get to where you got to?
Yeah, exactly. Then you can look back like, here you go. Like, I'll show you, like, yeah, exactly. It's actually really awesome talking to you. I feel like, it's just really comfortable talking to you. You got great energy and very, like you said, you're very good hosts, actually.
Thank you. I try. I try. So officially, before we get you out, give you as much, like, I need to shameless plug, right? Where can we find you? Like website, social media, blogs, give us all of the places to find you. Let's give some shameless promotion.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not like, I have to say I'm not like huge on social media at this point, but like plan to be. But websiteup.com is our website. And then also like website it up on, I say website.it's.up on Instagram, I think, and also on Facebook. That's where you can find us or find me. Yeah,
that absolutely works. I'll put the links. Make sure to send me the links and everything. I'll make sure I put it in the description live. And thank you much for coming on to the Ramblings.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me today. I'm so glad that we have this conversation. It's really fun.
Hey Ramblers, that's it. Podcast is over. Don't leave yet though. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, and follow us on YouTube at OffSource HQ. We'll see you next time.